What is good, everybody? Happy Tuesday, guys. I hope you all are off to a good start or end to your days, good start to your weeks. I got my brother Chris Monroe up here today out of St. Louis. Chris, how are we doing today, my brother?
Man, you know how it is. Everything is everything. Good to see you, Joey. Just trying to make a dollar out of 15 cents. You know how it is.
Oh, that's how we do it. That's how we do it. I love that. So, give everybody a brief background on you, real estate background, just kind of what got you into the business, and just kind of who you are a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, I started in real estate back in 2018. Seemed like a long time ago now. Time flies when you're having fun. Closed my first wholesale deal in August of 2018. Went on to do about 17 deals in my first year. Bought my first house in 2018 as well, subject to. We love the creative stuff. Still own that house today. Bought that back in December, and just been rolling from there, wholesaling and buying real estate.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So one thing that me and Chris used to be in a mentor community together last year, and me and him definitely talked a bunch of times. I've learned a lot from Chris on the creative side. So that's one thing that stood out to me with him was he does a lot of subject to deals, a lot of creative financing deals. And I remember one day we were in a training and he was showing me like his script, kind of how he deals with sellers, and basically just getting the seller, like not putting the money in the seller's pocket or like assuming what they actually need on the deal, and then kind of just like the way to pitch it to the seller is the right way and not assuming, not counting their pockets, not doing anything like that, and almost getting $0 down on some of these deals, getting these deals for as little to nothing down as possible. And I actually ended up closing a deal in January that I kind of used some of his strategies for. We made 85 G's on. So I gotta say,
What? Come on, Joey, get that money, man.
yes, sir. So one thing I kind of want to get in on is what got you into creative, and I guess what how tell everyone a little bit about how it works on the way that you do it, because I feel like you have your own little spin to it that works, and I know that is one of your best strategies you use in your business.
100%. So yeah, I kind of stumbled into it. Like I said, I started 2018 wholesaling, and as we know, every lead that we talk to may not be able to give you that low wholesale price. Whether they have a mortgage on the property, whether they have just a price set that won't sell any less than whatever the reason is, we have another option to be able to help them sell the property for a higher purchase price versus giving them a low ball offer if they really have a problem. So if a person has a house, they don't want to take a low ball offer or they can't take a low ball offer, creative real estate really changes the game on that. So like I said, my first deal I bought in 2018, that lady was a house that was her family was living in a house. They ended up moving out, but it was a mortgage on the property. The family members were making that payment, but since they moved out, they stopped making the payment. The lady was motivated. She wanted to sell. The house was vacant for about 2 months. She was about 2 to 3 months behind when I got the property, but it was nothing wrong with the house. Beautiful house in Afton, Missouri, right here in sunny St. Louis. 4 bedroom, nothing wrong with it. I mean, a little clean out, nothing major, but house could be moved in right down the street from two schools. So great location, and all she wanted to do was walk away. She didn't want anything. She just wanted to be done with the house. So I talked to her. We structured a deal. Bought her house subject to. I brought about $2,400 to catch her loan up because it was about $800 a month, something like that, in arrears. So she was about 3 months behind plus closing costs. So I think I was all in to acquire this property for about $3,500 out of pocket, taking over the payment subject to. And then I was off to the races. I was like, wow. And I just learned it as I was doing it, really. It isn't like it's something you're born with, but I was studying it, but I had an actual situation. And that's what you and I were talking about before you push live, Joey. Sometimes you got to go through this stuff to actually find that, hey, this is an opportunity to do this other thing that I haven't tried yet. So basically, she was my guinea pig, and it all worked out. I did have some training. I'm not going to say just jump in and try this stuff. You want to know what you're doing because I did close this property in a trust, and I did put new insurance and a whole bunch of other stuff we can get into the weeds on if needed, Joey.
Yeah, I'm down to get into the weeds too because I know that's where most people get stuck or in trouble. So I kind of want to go over the basics first before we get into the weeds, obviously, because like some people listening are probably like, "What the heck is subject to? What is taking over payments on a mortgage? You could do that, and kind of how does that work?" So I'd say let's get into that first, and then one thing I'll touch on too before we get going on that is just so you guys know, like the way me and Chris figured this business out is obviously we all had mentors training, all the good stuff. That definitely were coached on the way through as well, but we also figured it the fuck out. If you guys are in this business and you're like getting overwhelmed when you start hearing all these crazy terms, way to do deals, like take the action, get yourself in a situation and then come to someone that knows what they're doing or figure it out as you go, and you're going to learn a hell of a lot more that way than sitting on the sidelines and just going through YouTube University and waiting till you know everything to get started on the deals because you never will know everything. I mean, I've been in the business 4 years. I'm working on a deal today that is literally been one of the most nightmares of a deals we've had. We're gonna get it closed, but it's just like it's just shit's coming up that's never came up. It's 55 and above. We got to have a dad sign off on a mortgage that he wasn't ready for, all that other stuff. So it's just like things are going to happen even when you've done this business forever. So understand you're not going to know everything. And even if you don't, it's fine. Just keep pushing forward and you'll learn along the way because I'm still learning on every deal I ever get into. And I'm sure Chris still gets into deals he learns on that he's just like, how have I not had this come up yet?
Hey, I can't agree with you more because, sometimes, the moral of the story is we are paid to solve problems. In fact, I even tell people, bring me your real estate problems. Even if I don't know the answer, I'll find out. I don't know every little nook and cranny of everything, and nobody knows every little nook and cranny. Every market is different, title companies different, attorneys are different, rules are different, some rental restrictions. There's so many moving parts with real estate, and that's what make me like it because it's something you can never really know all the answers to. It's an ever learning process, and you get paid to solve problems and help people. What's wrong with that, Joey?
Oh, there is nothing wrong with that. That is my favorite part about it.
100%. So yeah, that's what I love too, and that's why I say bring me your real estate problems, and we'll find a solution. It may not be exactly what the seller is, because sometimes we have sellers that'll say, "Oh no, I don't think that'll work," or "Oh no, I can't do that." I ask them, "What makes you say that?" Or I'll ask them, "Why do you think it won't work?" Or I confront it, and that's what a lot of people are afraid to do is ask those tough questions, and that's what separates the men from the boys, I guess we can say, or the ladies from the little girls, whatever we want to put it. It separates us. You got to ask the tough questions and be confident in it. Don't just feel like, oh, do you have a mortgage? How much is it? It's not that. How much you owe on a house? Straight face. We have to get straight with some people and just be direct. It doesn't have to always be, oh, sorry about asking this or apologizing. I never go in a position of apologizing. Sorry about this. Sorry about that. Hey, this is what happened. This is what we do. Here's a solution. Which way you want to go with it? And we roll with it.
I mean, that's the way you got to be. And when you ask the hard questions, that's when you make the big bucks at the end of the day. Because that was the question that made me that 85 G's on that deal was literally, what is more important to you? Is it money down now or is it money over time? It was money over time. So we got them from taking the wholesaler we were JVing with had 210 down on a $1.8 million purchase price negotiated with them. I got them to take from 210 down to $0 down with that question. So it's like just asking the right questions, that is what's going to get you guys the right results. And don't be afraid to ask the hard questions. Get uncomfortable in this business, so just get used to it.
And that's what I like about that, Joey. The fact that you knew that you can renegotiate. When we go under contract with somebody, we can still renegotiate all the way up to closing. We could change down payments. We could change monthly payments. We can change interest rates. We could change length of time. We could change the closing date. We could change any part of it all the way up until the day we close. So it ain't over until the fat lady sings.
That's what I always say. And even when we're at the worst of the worst on these deals, I'm like, hey, it ain't over until a fat lady sings, and I ain't fucking singing yet. So we got some time here, guys.
Hey, that's the game, So that's why I always just try to, figure out what is the real problem through questions, asking the right questions. What is the real situation? And then this is one of my favorite questions. This is my favorite question. I think one of them. I don't know. I don't really have a favorite, but Mr. Seller, how do you see all this working out for you in a perfect scenario? Well, if I can just get out of here and get $1,000 in my pocket, I'll be ready to go. Damn, and I'm going to offer you more. That's why we don't offer stuff. I like to ask good open-ended questions and allow that person to tell you how to close them. That's what makes closing so much easier when you know all the answers to the test you can pass with the best.
I love that. And it's so true, and that goes down to not counting their pockets. I mean, if you just ask the right questions and let them tell you what they actually need, like there's so many times, even just on a traditional wholesale deal, I'll have a seller that's basically like, I need a 10-day close, I need a 15-day close, and the reality of it is they need that in their head, but they don't actually need that, nor can they perform on that because they don't even have enough time to move out of the house. So
Yeah,
then we end up getting them to sign a 60-day close, and the reason that gets signed is because we're finding the real problem here. We're giving them a real solution. And
yeah.
when you guys just ask the right questions and then listen, and actually listen and let them talk, and you're not the one talking, you're going to get some answers and you're going to get some deals figured out the way that you need them figured out.
Hey, that's the name of the game. You know, solutions to problem. Bring me a problem. We'll give you some solutions, and then we just have to decide which way we want to go to solve the problem. It's really that simple. Whether that's a low ball cash offer, and there's people that take it all the time. You know that. And then there's people that say, "Hey, I don't even need the money. I just want to get rid of the house. I don't want to have to deal with the house." And that's where we try to give the value on a creative deal. You never have to go back to this property again, Mr. Seller.
Exactly. No, I love, and that's I'm training my acquisition guys. Like when I do my training with my team, the first thing I do is cash. Like they don't I'm not getting into subject to, I'm not getting into any owner financing, any novations. That's they got to get cash down first. That's my philosophy because if I give them everything at once, they're going to implode. If I give them one strategy at a time and then we pack on the strategies from there, like they got to be solutionists at the end of the day, but they also got to learn from the ground up. So right now we're at the point where they got mastered cash deals, like they are animals on the phones of cash deals, mastering creative finance, not creative finance, novation deals. So now we're on the creative side. And what I'm showing them is like at the end of the day, we gotta be solutionists. That is the biggest part of this business is if all I'm doing is I'm just giving you cash, 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 this is my only offer and I can't do anything else, and like it's like you're either accept it or buy, then we're not really helping the seller. So obviously they had to get through that part first, but now that they got that mastered, now they are actual solutionists. They're getting more contracts locked in just because it's even if they're not doing the creative deals yet and getting those contracts yet, by them offering other ways of getting a deal done, that is literally making the seller feel more comfortable. Like they're actually in their corner. They're not just worried about their own pockets.
100%. And that's why we offer. I just put a video up on my Instagram. Cash, cash, cash turns last every time. Because if we get them down lower on a price, it's easier to give them a terms offer on a lower price. Just because they're willing to take a creative offer doesn't mean we don't get some equity as well. A lot of people don't think about that. They're thinking, oh, if I give them terms, it got to be exactly the number they want. Not necessarily. What are you able to negotiate? So they might say, hey, I need 200,000 for this property, and and you're thinking in your mind, hey, I can't give them no more than 100, and they're like, oh, we can't do 100. I mean, so I asked them, what's the lowest you would accept? Well, I take 180. 180, is that the best you can do? Yeah, 180. I ain't going no lower. Remember, he was at 200. So if there's a way we can come up to 180, if we have to get creative or do something a little outside of the box, is that something we should speak about or probably not? Oh, what do you mean? Now they just open themselves up to be pitched a creative deal. What we do at that point is we insert what's called a third party story. So in the past, we had somebody in a situation just like you, and what we did for that seller was gave them a little bit now, and gave them payments over time where they were able to move out of the property and go on to do bigger and better things. Now, what about that will not work for you? Very important question. What about that will not work for you? I'm fishing for an objection. Oh, my bank won't let me do that. Oh, this won't do that. Or they whatever objection they throw. But I want them to, I'm fishing for an objection so I can annihilate it on the spot. Does that make sense?
I love that. I love that because you're getting it all out on the line before you even get into the actual offer.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that is. I remember you teaching us this when we were in that call for AW, and I was like, this is gold right here. What about that would you not would not work for you? And then
Yeah.
that's just you're getting all the BS out of the way. So when you go and make your offer, it's like we already addressed this, and this. So what else is stopping us from signing it? And that's when I do my acquisition script, just on a traditional acquisitions call.
Hmm.
We're kind of fishing for the objections up front as well, so that we're getting all the BS out of the way. So if we do get an offer accepted, there's nothing stopping them from signing. And sometimes now, if I put pressure on you, I'm not feeling bad because you already said yes. If we get an offer that's acceptable, I'm ready to sign paperwork right now.
So that means we're getting the commitment before even making the offer. The commitment. Yes, I am ready to do business. I'm ready to get the process started today if we can agree on everything. Because that's a question I like to ask. Mr. Seller, if we're able to agree on a price, are you ready to get the process started today? Before I ever gave an offer. Because when I give an offer, I'm sending them a contract. I want to go ahead and get it done right now. Because while the iron is hot, if we wait around and then they're gonna say, "Oh, well, let me see and let me go shopping around." No, we're gonna get this deal done. So I
Yep,
always like to get the commitment before I even make the offer.
absolutely. I mean, I take it the step to the probably maximum here, where I don't even, if like let's say it's a husband and a wife. If they're both not on the phone, I'm not making, and they're both on the deed, I'm not making them an offer. So I'm like, I'll schedule a time with both y'all to be there, and then we're gonna get this done. And then usually that's given me more success than like playing the game with, oh, I'll get the husband the offer, then get the wife on after, and it's like a whole bunch of BS when like somebody else could do what I'm doing, and now they get the contract before me because I
So we
didn't get the
call
offer in
that,
the same call.
sounds like we're doing close all decision makers, whether that's the wife, the husband, the real estate agent. We got to close them sometime. A wholesaler can be involved. Everybody can get that work. We close all decision makers so we can handle all their objections at the same time because they might raise the same question or be thinking something that the other person said. And if when we become good at handling the objection, squashing it immediately, we get the deal done.
Exactly. I had a state of six people the other day, and I had to get every last one of them on the same call. And we got basically everybody on board. There was one sibling that wouldn't get on the call. I'm getting on a call with them, I think, tomorrow. So we'll see how that one goes. But that's exactly how you guys got to do it. Is you got to get every single person on that call, and that's just how it
Is that a
goes.
creative deal or a cash deal?
That's going to be a cash deal, but it's two mobile home parks in
Oh
North
wow,
Carolina, and that one's we're getting at like 250 a pop. So we're gonna, yeah.
slam dunk.
Yeah, that's gonna be a juicy one. So I just got to get that one locked in. But I made sure that I got everybody on that call that needed to get on that call because that's the only one. Like, I don't care if that was a single family home or a mobile home park, whatever it is. You guys got to make sure you talk to everybody and get everybody on the board on the same call, so you're not sitting here doing what I got to do now and chase this last seller on the phone to get them done.
Yeah. I mean, it's so important to close all decision makers because you don't want somebody to come up. I've lost deals due to stuff like that. I had a guy under contract. I stopped his auction, his pre foreclosure auction, had a buyer locked in, ready to go, wholesale, ready to go, everything perfect. The wife wouldn't sign. She
Mm.
said, I ain't signing nothing. I don't doing nothing to help him. She hates his guts. I was like, really? The wife messed up my damn deal. It can happen. But, I didn't even know the guy was married until title came back and said, yeah, he's got a wife on here. I'm like, oh, snap. Let me see what's going on with this.
Jeez, this is
Even
why I
that,
always that right there, and I mean, what's happened to us in the past couple years is why I always pitch volume too. Like, you guys got to make sure you don't got one deal and that's your only deal you got. You guys got to make sure you're always going for more volume because you never can control everything. And I mean, if it's not coming up on prop stream tax records that wife's on the deed, there could still be a wife on the deed, and that's the difference of killing your deal. And if that's your only deal, that hurts. That hurts. But if you got 20 others, it hurts, but it doesn't hurt as bad at all.
gotta have some leads, lead generation. Gotta have a bunch of people. You gotta have a fish on the hook. Let's put it like that. Because we're gonna reel in something. Somebody gonna get reeled in. Which one is it gonna be? Hope it's a fat fish.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Wait, really quick on comments. Rafa hit us up. He said, "Yo, Chris, I got a seller finance deal for you. 16 units in Galveston, Texas."
Wow, I've been to Galveston one time, down there at the Gulf of Mexico. Seller finance. Yeah, send it over to me. I'll definitely take a look at it. Galveston, Texas. I love it. 16 units. What up, Rafi?
What's good, my brother? And then Shante said, "Hey, RE fam." What up,
What up,
Shante?
Shantae STL in the building? I see you.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get into a little bit of creative finance now. So, what is this creative finance thing we keep talking about? And I guess just go over the basics of I guess an owner finance subject to, and then we'll start getting in the weeds with this.
100%. So yeah, if a property you come across has a loan on it, and we are able to take over the payments of that loan, that's what we refer to when we're talking about subject to. Subject to the existing financing, meaning we're going to transfer the deed, which is ownership, over to us and leave the loan, which is debt, in place. We're not going to assume the loan. In fact, I would say take the word assume out of your vocabulary. Don't even use it no more. We don't even use the word assume because we don't assume anything when we're talking to people, and we're definitely not assuming any loans. Because if you assume it, you got to go qualify for it, get your credit pulled, appraisals, all the stuff that people do, all that red tape to buy real estate, which I don't live in that world. I live in a whole other world where I buy houses and I never had my credit pulled to buy real estate. That's right. Doesn't matter if I got a 402 credit score, I can buy a house because I work a deal with the seller. So subject to the existing financing, that's one way. And you'll find when we're marketing, there's loans out here with 2 and 3% interest rates, which is something you simply cannot get today. They're closer to 7 and 8% here in 2024. So why wouldn't I want to take over a 2% interest rate versus a 8, 9, 10%, whatever people getting today? So when we buy these properties and they have great financing terms on it, we aim to take over that. So that's a subject to. We can take over that payment by transferring the deed, keeping the loan in place. Um, Now, if there's a free and clear property, we would call that more of a seller finance, meaning they don't have any underlying debts. It's just somebody that paid cash, or maybe they paid the property off years ago, whatever the situation is, but there is no underlying debt. We buy those seller finance, but there's a kick when it comes to seller finance. The elephant in the room is we can buy those properties with 0% interest. That's right, but we position it as principal payments only. We don't even bring up interest. I don't even say anything about interest. Now, if they bring it up to me, that's something else, but I never even bring it up. I'm doing a deal right now um, where it's basically partially a seller finance. It's a sub two and a seller finance. We call that a hybrid, but I'll break that down in a second. So we're doing a deal right now where I was able to structure a deal. I'm taking over the first. It's a 2.65% interest rate, I believe, something like that.
Sheesh.
Taking over that $900 a month payment. Beautiful house here in Maryland Heights. And then I structured a deal for their second part, their equity, as a seller finance deal with 0% interest, $300 a month, straight principal payments only. So I structured that deal where I'm not giving any interest to the seller for that extra equity that they have in a property. And that's what we would call more of a hybrid, because we're doing a sub two, leaving that alone, but they have equity. We structured a deal to pay them down their equity as well. So it's basically we're making two payments.
Is there a down payment in that deal?
There is a down payment. It's $20,000 down.
Okay.
The house ARV is around 290. It's in Maryland Heights, Grade A area, where the good schools are and all that good stuff. So people want to live there, and it's families there. This is not like Section 8 stuff, none of that type stuff. This is where families would want to live in. So we can do whatever we want with this property, whether we do a long-term rental or whether we do short-term rental, mid-term rental, or my favorite creative strategy, which is called lease option. And we can get into that if you like to, but I don't like to go too long without stopping, making sure. Or are we still cracking here, cooking, or do I got to go deeper into any of that other stuff I just talked about?
So one thing I'll touch on, Chris just said it like because talks about creative finance every single day, and it just rolled off his tongue. But he said there's a first on the property. Explain what that is, because obviously not most people will understand what that first is, or first position lien, or first position mortgage. What just describe what that is? Just like I guess Reader's Digest version, and
Yeah.
then we'll keep it running.
So yeah, typically the first lien position on a property is going to be a mortgage if there is a mortgage, because they usually want to be in first position so that if they need to foreclose, they got all the power. But there are instances where there's properties with first, second, maybe even third lien positions on properties, whether that's mortgages, whether that's mechanics liens, any other types of liens. There's a bunch of different types of liens that can be placed on a property. HELOCs, home equity line of credit. Say a person has a house that's worth 300,000, but they only owe 50,000 on it. They got $250,000 worth of equity. They can tap into some of that equity on a HELOC, home equity line of credit, and say pull $100,000 out to do repairs, pay down debt, things like that. And people do this stuff all the time. So there's first lien position, second lien position, and how do we determine the lien position? Who recorded first? Simple as that. Whoever records first, that's the first. Whoever records second, that's the second, regardless of the loan amounts, etc. But typically, you're going to see bigger loans on a first versus a second.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So basically, to break down your deal now, so you guys are taking it over with the mortgage, which is the first. The owner finance, you're the second, is your owner finance that you have. And then obviously there's just two positions on that loan. So the owner technically is in the second position lien. Obviously you are now the owner of the property. Title gets transferred into your name. Mortgage stays in the seller's name, and then insurance you put in your name, or do you keep the insurance in the seller's name on these?
So yeah, this is very important here. Insurance. When we're talking about insurance, at closing, we have a brand new insurance policy because we are the owner of the property. That person we bought it from is no longer the owner. I do not leave owners. Their policy means nothing to me because they're not the owner. And if there was damage like a fire, tornado, etc., flood, anything happens to that property, who you think they're going to pay out? The other guy. I don't want to pay him. I want to get a check. And I had two house fires in 2022, and they sent me big old checks on both of them. So I'm only speaking from experience. Always get your own insurance policy on a purchase that you're doing, subject to or otherwise. I always get my own insurance. Now, when it comes to breaking that down just a little bit, if I buy a house from a seller subject to the existing financing, I get my new insurance policy. I add that seller or borrower, which that's what the same as the seller, on as an additional insured on that insurance policy. I add their mortgage company on there as well as the mortgagee, and we actually get a new one policy, like I say. And so here's another little kicker when it comes to new policies. Most of the time, your landlord policy is going to cost less than the policy that the seller's been paying. So many times when we take over these properties, they say their payment is $1,200 a month. When we switch the insurance and switch the escrow, all of that out, our payment might be $1,100 a month. So that's extra cash flow that you wasn't even counting before you even got into the weeds. Did that make sense?
I love that. Hell yeah. So owners gonna be paying a little bit more on insurance. So don't use this as your underwriting when it's like 1,200. You see you got 300 cash flow. Be like, no, we got four. No, still do the 300 cash flow, guys.
Yeah,
But just understand, you might, if you're buying the deal yourself, you might end up coming out even more on top.
yeah, your cash flow. So yeah, we're still underwriting it the same. And so it's escrows. So when you break down a mortgage, you have PITI, principal, that's the loan balance, how much they owe, interest, the interest, what they charge you for borrowing that money, taxes, everybody pays real estate taxes, and insurance in case of tornado, a flood, a fire, something happens on a property. So PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So typically the taxes and insurance is escrowed, a separate account that the bank has or the lender has to deal with taxes and insurance to make sure that it's paid every month. So it's escrow broken down into usually 12 yearly payments, 12 monthly payments over a year. I guess that's the better way to say that.
Yeah. And then how are you, so the deal that you have, let's keep breaking that down a little bit more. Was that, how long was the note on the second when you did the owner finance? How
Uh,
long, what were the terms of that?
so yeah, so the subject to is about another, I want to say 13 years left, something like that on it. So not long. They've had this house for a while.
13 on the
And the
mortgage.
seller finance, what we did is we structured it at $300 a month. The equity is $108,000 because we agreed to a purchase price of 225. We're giving him 20,000 down. He's getting a second lien position of 108,000. We're paying him 300 a month with a balloon payment due within 10 years. So we need to have him paid off within 10 years, however many months that is. So in that situation, we can do a couple of different things. And I'm going to get into the weeds here just for those of you tracking. Hopefully everybody tracking and packing. Matter of fact, give this video a thumbs up for my boy Joey. Smash
Let's
the
get
thumbs up because we cooking now. Wait a minute. I got to put my Chef Boyardee hat on. We cooking.
it.
So when it comes to uh, the deal, we're going to do something called the deal after the deal. So just like I said, we have a balloon payment due in 10 years, right? On that second. Say we're 3, 4, 5, 6 years in, and we look and we say, Mr. Seller, I know I owe you 90,000, but I came across some money and I think I can get you paid off sooner if you would take 60,000 as payment in full. Remember, we owe them 90, but we're going to give them 60. And many times they say yes to take their money now. JG Wentworth, it's my money and I want it now, and he might take it. And that's an extra $30,000 that we just created out of thin air. And I've done it a couple of times on deals that I've had creatively. So that's called the deal after the deal.
The deal after the deal. And then what is so is 10 years just so you know you have enough time to pay down on the principal of it so that are you going to be refinancing here or is it selling the house at that or obviously it's just kind of figuring out where the market is at that point. But is that what the strategy typically is for you is to refinance or is it to try to sell out in those
So
10 years?
it's right. What does the marketplace say? So, like I say, ARV today is 290. 5 years from now, it might be 390. Who knows? Might go up, might go down. I'm thinking it's going to go up because it does. Plus, like I said, it's in a great area. So it's whatever the marketplace dictates. So we can do a couple of things before that 10-year balloon. We can renegotiate, get an extension. We can up the payment amount. Say, hey, we can pay you 500 a month now and extend it, or just extend it at the same 300 a month. Or we can do what I said earlier, the deal after the deal, cash them out sooner to get a little discount on it if we wanted to through refinancing. Or we can sell the property is another option. So we can sell it, refinance it, restructure it, or we can cash them out, refinance it. So whatever we want to do, everything's negotiable. And that's the thing about real estate. It's always a deal. And like I say, sometimes it might be better to cash them out a little bit sooner to get a discount even later. Because like say if this property, say 5 years go by and this property is worth, I don't know, 450 now. We've been paying down the first, we've been paying down the second. Instead of owing 200, we might owe 130 at that time. We can easily go get a loan for that. A
Get it for
DSCR
130 and then lower
loan.
your payments basically.
We can get a DSCR loan. We can sell it. I mean, that's a lot of equity to just out of, you're like, damn, I just sold the house and make 200,000 after I cash flowed it for 5 years. Whatever. It's totally up to you. I mean, your money might be able to say, you know what, I'll just pay all this junk off. But with the terms that are so sweet in this deal with a 2.65% interest rate, I don't think we're going to get anything lower than that. And 0% on the second. Will we ever want to cash this thing out in real life?
That's what we
Why?
hold.
Here's the question. Why would we kill the goose that's laying the golden eggs?
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, if you can cash flow that much on these ones, it's like sometimes you gotta just stay in there and just keep holding it. And
Yeah. And I didn't even talk about the cash flow. So the payment on the underlying debt is about 900 a month. The payment to the seller is 300 a month. So what's that? 1,200 a month outgoing on a property for payments for first and second loan position. And then so our long-term rental in that area is like 1850. And that's on long-term rental, which I don't even do long-term rental. I do lease options and I do mid-term rental and short-term rental. So I'm not even, I mean, I underwrite it as long-term rental, but I don't even use that as an exit strategy. So I'm going to make way more on the cash flow on that property, probably closer to around $800 a month.
And then what would a lease option look like on this? And just kind of break that down a little bit.
So lease option, aka lease purchase, aka rent to own. So people call it all these different things, but that's what it is, a lease with an option to buy. It's my favorite exit strategy because I don't do anything but collect checks. I'm like Bank of America. So typically what we do is we market the property like this one out to the marketplace. We send it out. We let them know we only market the price. We never say how much down and we never say how much per month because that's all about negotiation. We can negotiate that. So that's why I can probably beat that 1850 a month because what if somebody's willing to pay me 2000 a month? I beat regular long-term rental rates all the time doing this strategy. Matter of fact, all of my properties are above long-term rental rates. And I want them to stay that way because these properties I'm holding long term. So for this particular property on a lease option, say if I get somebody to come in, say they gave me the 20,000 down. Now I'm into the house for no money. Say they come and give me 25,000 down. Now I'm being paid a little bit of money to take over a house, and I got a bunch of them like that, where I put I'm structured to give seller X number down, but I got a bigger non-refundable option fee from my tenant buyer. That's what we call the people that are rent to own tenant buyers. We get a bigger down payment from them. So now we're not even buying houses. We're being paid to take houses. Is that crazy, Joey?
That is insane.
Forget buying houses. Take this hat off. We're getting paid to take houses when you understand creative finance.
No, that is insane. So basically, they're giving you a down payment to be a renter with the option to buy. And how long is the term usually on these deals? What does that look like?
Yeah, good question. So everything's negotiable. I asked them, how long do you need? Because we're giving them time to go get fixed whatever they have broken, whether that's time on the job, whether that's their debt to income ratio, whether that's their credit score, whatever that is that's stopping them from going to get a traditional mortgage through a lender, don't have anything to do with me. Whatever's stopping them, this gives them time to get that fixed. They can enjoy the house, live in the house, and decide to buy it. Now, that's why we call it a lease option. You can either buy it or you can move out or you can extend it. And I've had many people give me houses back. In fact, the house I live in right now, I had a tenant buyer in here for 2.5 years. They moved out, I moved in.
And you kept that down payment because they already made it to you.
So yes, let's talk about terminology. Out here in the real world, we can say down payment, but on paperwork, we never use the words down payment because we're not doing any loans. We call it a non-refundable option consideration. That's what my paperwork says. Non-refundable option consideration. We want to be clear that this is not refundable at all. These deals are closed off in front of a real estate attorney. So just in case somebody said, you tricked me, you didn't tell me that this what it was, everything's in writing. There's no tricky stuff. This is all disclosed up front in paper. And so we want to make sure nobody feels like we tricked them. So we ask them how long they want. If they say 3 years, fine, because I don't want to go too far out. I see some people that do this, do it for 5, 7, 7, 8, 9 years. I don't go out that far because we got something called taxes. Taxes go up, insurance go up, everything, marketplaces go up. I want to be able to go up on the rent if you're gonna stay in my house, right? So if I give them 2 or 3 years, something changes within that 2 or 3 years, or I know that the marketplace shifting and they like, hey, I ain't get it cashed out yet, but I want to stay. That's fine. I know you're paying 2,000 a month right now. We can extend you for another 2 years if you pay 22.50. They love the house. They want to stay in the house. You can stay until the end of time for all I care. Or you can decide to move out. I'm not kicking them out. They decide to move out, and we get them back all the time. And guess what we do when we get them back?
Take another down payment.
We start all over again and get another non-refundable from another person and do this whole thing. So that's why I say, ladies and gentlemen, find a way to stay in a deal. I know a lot of people teach to say, how are we going to get out the deal and we're going to sell it to somebody else and all that. That's cool. But I'm always preaching and teaching, find a way to stay in the deal. Because like I said earlier, why would you kill the goose that's laying the golden eggs? How are you ever going to retire? We got to go keep chasing and finding deals. I just want to get one deal that keeps paying me over and over and over again. So I have a deal that's already closed that's similar to the one I'm talking about, but this was just a straight up subject to deal. So I bought this house. The guy, he wanted $90,000 for the price. He was stuck. I want 90 and I don't want a penny less. I said, okay, if there's a way we can get you 90, would you consider taking a monthly payment until we pay you off in full? No, 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 I can't do that. No, no, no. Then he started asking questions. And then I ended up closing him eventually because he was a tired landlord and an expired listing. That's what this lead came from. Tired landlord and expired listing. So he already went through the gauntlet to find out that nobody's giving you the 90,000 that you think you want. But I'm going to give you your 90,000. So what we did is we structured the deal, $90,000 purchase price, $5,000 down, 700 a month. Easy, right? I went and found a tenant buyer who gave me 10,000 down. She agreed to pay me 15.95 a month and a purchase price of 114,000 on a lease purchase, lease option. So I'm cash flowing $895 a month on a house I have no money in. In fact, a house I was paid to take. How you love that, Joey?
You were paid to take it. I mean that any house I ever buy, that's exactly the way it's going down now. I actually, it's so funny you're saying this because I literally was talking to my team today and I was like, guys, I will never put my own money into a house. It's just like that. Once you guys know what you know, why would you do that? Why would you do that if you can do what me and Chris can do? You can control the paper. you now control the deal. All you got to do is go out and find the money, whether it's a lease option, whether it's an equity position, whatever it is to raise the money for the deal. There are so many ways to do it where you don't got to put a penny of your own money to buy homes.
100%. And I want to be clear for everybody listening. You can use the lease option as an entry strategy, but I don't use it that way. I use it as an exit strategy, meaning I'm going to buy it and get the deed subject to or seller finance, whatever way I'm getting the deed, which means I get ownership, and I'm going to exit on the lease option. I'm going to put a tenant buyer in or install a tenant buyer, just so we're clear, because I know a lot of people hear these terms and things, and I like to be specific, especially when we're talking creative. I don't want anybody to go down the wrong rabbit hole and say, oh, yeah, I got a lady to give me this, which you can do that. They call that arbitrage. It was big about a year or two ago. Everybody, I'm arbitraging. I'm going to rent this property and I'm going to sub rent it out on Airbnb. Why didn't you just buy the property? You just didn't know how to buy it. You could have bought it and did the same thing. Why would we want to arbitrage it if you can buy it? Now, there are instances where you do want to use that strategy, the lease option or sandwich lease option is what I would like to prefer to call it. I'm the meat in the middle. One of my buddies down in Atlanta did a deal like that on $1 million property, and a lot of people will tell you, "Oh, you can't do it on $1 million property." It's been done, and it's done all the time. And the taxes, transfer tax, all that stuff on $1 million property is a lot of money anyway. So why would you want to do that? So what this guy did, he basically got the $1 million property. He agreed to give the seller $50,000 down. So the seller like, yeah. He put it under contract. He went and found a tenant buyer to give him $100,000 down. He made $50,000 on a house he never owned. Just like we do wholesale deals, he did the same thing with that, but it was a lease option for that other person to move in it, and they gave $100,000 down to move into $1 million house. He made 50K and didn't do nothing but flip some damn paper. Come on now.
That's how we do this shit. I mean, I couldn't think of any better way to make money, guys, than just flipping a piece of paper. And that's funny. We got told by a buyer the other day, "Oh, we are paper pushers," but that's exactly what we are. But guess what? When you can control this paper and you learn how to flip it, I mean, shit, you got a lot of power in your hands with these deals. So
Yeah,
understand, guys, you don't need money to make money. You just need knowledge, and that's it.
that's it. Specialized knowledge, because real estate breezes through paperwork. That's all it is. Black ink on white paper. That's all real estate is.
Exactly. Once you figure out how to make that paper work, you guys make some
So get
dough.
the paperwork to make the paperwork.
That's what it is. That's exactly how it goes. So, okay, cool. So we got the lease options down now. We got a little bit of taste of subject to. So what are everyone always talks about the negatives of subject to. So what are the negatives of subject to and kind of like what are things people should look out for? And I guess what's the right ways to structure it so that you can be careful when you're getting in on these deals?
So yeah, the biggest thing in real life is no risk to you, because we're not legally even bound to do anything with that property. We're just morally. So I want to be clear, when we buy these properties subject to, where they just sign it over to you, sign you over the house, they really have no legal recourse. They have no legal recourse. They can't even foreclose on you because they didn't do it in a way that they can. They signed the house over to you. Take my house, take the lien that's on it, take it as is, take all of this stuff. I'm tapping out. So that's just a regular subject to. So it's really no downside. The only downside is if you don't know what you're doing with the insurance, and transferring a property over and having a title company do it right. I always also get title insurance. Some people are out here teaching, don't get title insurance. Man, I'm getting title insurance every time for everything I do. It's a few $100. Why would you want to play a game on something like that and not have your T's crossed and your I's dotted? That don't even make sense when you think
Es-
about it. Why not?
Especially when it's something so minuscule. It's like you're skipping over pennies on your way to dollars and then you're gonna get it's so messed up. You get so messed up there when you go to if you go to resell this thing, it's just like there's just no point. Or you just got a dirty title, you don't even own the house. Like it's just yeah. You guys
So
got to make sure you got all your paperwork correct,
get
not
the
just the
paperwork.
contracts.
100%. So typically, when I close subject to type transactions, I close them in a trust. One trust for one property here in Missouri is called a grantor revocable trust. Some people in other places say land trust, land trust, land trust, but we don't have land trust in the state of Missouri. That's more of a common law thing. So it's a grantor revocable trust, the way I structure my deals. And so that property is transferred directly from the seller straight to the trust through an instrument called a warranty deed to trustee. A warranty deed to trustee. Now, that document is recorded on public record to show Joe Smith just sold his property, or just not sold, transferred his property from his name, Joe Smith, to 123 Smith Trust Estates, whatever you named it. So that's what shows on public record. There's a second document called a trust agreement. That document breaks down who are the beneficiaries of that trust, who's the trustee, all of the other workings of your trust. That document goes in your file cabinet at home in a fireproof safe. That's not going on public record. Hence, hiding who is the real owner of the property. Nobody knows because that document was never recorded on public record.
Mm. So the trust owns the property, not you technically, but you are the beneficiary of the trust.
So the way I structure mine, and you can structure them a number of different ways, but just to keep it simple, like a pimple, I structure it. Yes, it goes to the trust. The trust owns the property. The beneficiary of that trust is an LLC, and then the LLC, I'm underneath that. So basically, it gives me anonymity. They don't know who owns it, and it gives me asset protection because of the way I structure it.
Sheesh. I love that.
So
And
you
then,
won't ever see any property out here owned by Chris Monroe. You want
uh-uh.
to sue me, you'll be practicing because I don't own anything. Yeah.
I love that. And then one of the other things everyone always gets so caught up on is a due on sale clause. Because obviously I'd say about almost every mortgage company has these in their mortgages where
Yes.
technically if the mortgage is moved or if the property is sold, the mortgage has to get paid off. So
Yep.
how do you work around that? Is that just through setting it up in the trust? And have you ever had any issues or anything come up? Because obviously you do own a lot of subject to deals. Have you seen anything on your end with anything coming on, or have you ever had to unravel one?
Yeah, so typically the due on sale clause comes up if you're missing payments and they start digging around. If your insurance is not correct, like I said earlier about the additional insured and making sure that the loan company's on your evidence of insurance through your insurance company with your policy, stuff like that will raise a red flag and potentially get the due on sale clause. Now, it doesn't mean they have to trigger. I guess the proper word would be to trigger the due on sale clause. We put them in a trust because that prohibits the bank from calling the loan due to a law that came out back in 1982 called the Garn St. Germain Act of 1982. So that act basically prohibits the bank from calling the loan due when you transfer to a trust for estate planning purposes. So that's just a loophole we use for that. However, you can still close them in an LLC and it wouldn't be a problem. But like I say, you want to make sure your insurance is proper. You want to make sure your payments are current, and you want to make sure that if you do it that way, I would suggest having a third party servicer service that debt, meaning uh, the payments come in from whoever you're putting in the property to the servicer. The servicer pays the mortgage company and sends you the difference every month. But that's getting a little more deeper in the weeds, but that is another strategy to help you avoid the due on sale clause. But I have properties in trust and LLCs, and I've never had a problem. Plus, like I said, two of them was burned down, total losses, fire damage claims, and I had zero problems. In fact, they mailed me a check. One check was 155,000. I was like, damn, I'm glad this made it to me in the mail. I looked in the mail. I was like, damn, that's a big check. Is this me? What the hell going on here? And I took it to the bank, deposited, and it was available the next day. So they didn't even put a hold on it. So I said, thank you.
I will
And
take that.
yeah, so if you do your paperwork right, you shouldn't have a problem. And get the good training. That's really the moral of the story, Joey. I can go into all of the details and all this stuff. There's a lot of other moving parts, things you can do inside to get the paperwork right. And I always recommend people get the proper training. And I do training on this stuff every week, every Sunday night with the Future Cash Flow Club. So people need to tap in with that if they're interested in learning how to do these creative deals and getting deep in the weeds to actually structure them. First, find them, structure them, and get them done correctly.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Um, I guess one last question we'll ask before we get you out of here. How do I feel like the one thing everyone always asks too is how do we underwrite these deals? Like, how are you when you're looking at a deal? How are you deciphering is this a deal or is this one I'm going to pass on, even if the seller's asking a little bit under retail?
Yeah, so typically my goal in these deals is to get in them for little to nothing down, low monthly payments for as long as humanly possible. 30 years, great. Even 40 years, because you know they do have 40-year mortgages out here now, lo and behold. So, yes, that's my main goal. Little to nothing down, low monthly payments for as long as humanly possible. When it comes to underwriting, we do underwrite it as a long term rental just to see. So the day we go under contract is the day we start marketing. I don't have to wait. Just like you do a wholesale deal, say if we were able to structure a creative deal with somebody subject to or seller finance, we put it in the contract. We're going to start marketing this deal today. Basically, the day we sign it, we have the right to market this. We have the right to put it on the MLS, multiple listing service, already baked into our contracts. It's already set up in a way that we can either close on it ourselves or sell it to somebody else if we wanted to. So underwriting them is through the long-term rental strategy, which we look and see what we would cash flow on it.
Hell yeah. Okay.
But
No,
we can buy
that's
them with no equity. That's the other thing, though. So creative allows us to buy a house with little to no equity, a bunch of equity, even if it's upside down, depending on what are the payments.
that's at the end of the day. I mean, we had a deal that was completely upside down, and oh, this one Shante had dispoed, bro, and then the seller backed out last minute, and we kind of had no legs to stand on because I was working on this deal for like 6 months. Had a buyer tried to do a an assumption, and I was asleep at the wheel for this deal. To be completely honest, we let them do the assumption because we had like 20, or no, we had 40 other contracts at the time, and that was just stupidity on my end. And long story short, assumption buyer ends up backing out after 2 months of going through the assumption. We remarket it, get another buyer, he's good to go, and then seller just was pissed at this point and just would not move forward with this anymore. So this one though, on the other hand, was completely upside down, but the cash flow was so good. I almost took
Why
this
was
one
he
down
doing an
myself.
assumption?
Dude, I we let it go to attorney review because this was in Jersey, and then the attorneys insisted that they did the assumption. We had already assigned it to them, and like it was this one's one I'm kicking myself in the ass from because it was a 20K assignment, and then when we had it reassigned, it was like 32K.
So the seller was the one who wanted to do it, and they listened to the attorney who said, "Oh no, you need to do an assumption." Is that
Oh
what
no,
happened?
the buyer was the one that wanted to
Why
do it,
would he
dude.
do an assumption? I mean, but
I I wish I could tell you.
there's no reason to put that loan in your name.
Ever. I was like, we sold this as a subject to. This was the beginning of this year. So honestly, I was asleep at the wheel on this deal. I was focused on acquisition, and I just kind of let it the dispo side get away from us. So it is what it is. You gotta hold yourself accountable in these situations. But it was just that one. That one hurt the both times around because it was just like we had it assigned the first of this year. I think we had it assigned last year for 20 grand, and then it like came into this year, backed out, got it. Shantae came on the team, got it reassigned in a matter of days, and then seller ended up backing out, and it was just like, come on, man, like we had
Yeah.
this thing done.
Yeah, so I will say when it comes to those types of transactions, it's another transaction I didn't mention. I did mention subject to. I did mention the seller finance. I did mention the lease option. There's another one that people like, especially down in Texas and some other places, called the wraparound mortgage, or here in Missouri they're called an AITD, all inclusive trust deed. So we're basically going to create a new second deed of trust, identical to the first. So we would call it either a mirror wrap. That's another thing they call it, just to throw some terms out so people can look it up later. Mirror wrap. We would put a wraparound mortgage on that particular deal so that in the event that buyer you had, say that buyer was going to take the subject to. I wouldn't necessarily like to do an assignment of a subject to. I'd rather set it up as a wrap so that any event that end buyer doesn't perform, we do have legal recourse. Because, like I said earlier, a subject to, there is no legal recourse. We set it up as a wrap so that we get a new promissory note and a new deed of trust identical to the underlying debt. So, that any event that end buyer doesn't perform a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, and the seller like, hey, nobody's making payments on my loan. What's going on? We can foreclose and take over that property now. Make sense?
Okay. No,
So
that
that's
may
the way we deal with that.
so raps. I've learned a lot about that in the last year. I had no idea what a rap was until probably meeting you guys in AW, and that is one of those strategies that if you guys learn how subject to creative finance works, and then how you can wrap it to somebody for a profit, that's like another exit strategy too that people use on when they buy their subject to deals, is that you can earn cash flow that way too, if it doesn't make sense as a rental, because you're just basically selling someone on they can pay you, make you down payment, and you're basically selling them a second mortgage.
Yeah.
So
So I mean, yeah, and then there's other strategies like contract for deed, bond for deed. We call them
note buying.
executory contracts. Executory contracts. They're called different things in different states. That's why I'm throwing these different terminologies out. So here we have contract for deed in the state of Missouri. Some other states might have bond for deed or some other terms, but it's basically the same thing. Where you basically can structure a deal to where the person only gets the deed in the event that they perform on all the payments, all the monthly payments. So that's a safer way for you to exit these deals versus assigning subject twos. I don't really necessarily recommend doing that because your reputation's on the line. If they know, hey, I went to Joey and Joey, I told you I let you take over my payment subject to, you sold it to Sam, and Sam is a butthole and didn't make the payments. Now I'm looking at you, Joey. And Joey, you can't really make Sam pay.
Mm-mm.
You don't have any legal recourse. I don't have any legal recourse. Everybody mad at everybody. And that's why I don't like to get into those strategies like that. That's why we have to do these deals safe if we're going to be selling them to end buyers. And just make this money, man.
That's a way to do it. That is the way to do it. And that was one thing as I when I first learned about subject to, I tried to wholesale everything. And then we got kicked in the teeth like deals like this one. And yeah, it's like you got to either take them down or there's other ways like the Lisa or the wrap to get around these. I think we had one of my attorneys in Jersey said he structures it kind of like a wrap the way you just said it. And that's how we're protected legally where like I'm not going to get screwed for it because if the one thing you don't want to happen is that seller call you in 5 years. And I don't know about you guys, but I like my sleep. I don't want to be sitting there after I wholesale the subject to somebody, and like 5 years from now, this seller's calling me freaking out, like, why am I going into foreclosure? You said you guys can make the payments, and I had wholesaled that to somebody I didn't even know, and that buyer went ghost, and he's like, I don't care. I got my cash flow, and I was out. Like,
And that's why I say this creative is so important to learn the details because say if we did sell it on a wrap, we don't have to make it a mirror wrap identical to the underlying debt. We can structure it where we get cash flow off of it through the interest, through the monthly payment, and through the purchase price. We can sell it to them on a bigger price and bake in some equity for ourselves, bake in some cash flow for ourselves, and we're just like the lender. All we did was push paper, as you called earlier. So the wraparound mortgage is a very powerful strategy when you understand it, and it can really you can structure to say a 5 year balloon, meaning that end buyer that you put into that house on the wrap, they need to have it all paid off in 5 years. Go get it cashed out, or they can come back and see you. They got to come back and see you. We can give them a 3 year balloon, whatever. You can do whatever you want on these deals. It's all about did you do it right? Did you structure it right legally through a title company or real estate attorney? Did you structure it right and disclose everything to your people? Everybody should know everything. This is nothing slick. This is nothing illegal. Just for people listening, like, oh, that sounds illegal. You can't do that. We close all these deals through a real estate attorney or through the title company. So everything's legit, legal, and in writing. So it's never, oh, we tricked somebody. They sign off on everything. We let them know that mortgage is going to be in your name. We're going to make those payments. And it's just what it is.
And that's why I think you touched on it before. It's the you can't legally get in trouble with this stuff, but
Yeah.
morally, are you doing the right thing? And I think that comes down to like your guys' principles when you're getting in on these deals, trying to help these sellers, is just make sure you're always trying to do the right thing with these people. Don't screw people over, even on the wrap end on your buyers, or if you're going to be selling, you're gonna wrap it to somebody else. Make sure you're creating a win-win situation for everybody where you're not making the rules so they could fail. Because at the end of the day, like we know real estate, once you get into enough transactions, you know if you're getting a buyer like a 2 year cash out or balloon payment, and like you know damn well they ain't making that balloon in 2 years, then figure out something that's going to work for everybody. That's why even if sellers, the one thing I learned from you, Chris, in one of those trainings is deal killer. That's one word you use when someone's like, I need 50% down, I need 30% down. I straight up say, well, that's a deal killer. And I don't
Straight
like
up. That'll kill the deal, just to be honest with you, Mr. Seller.
like
That'll
that.
kill the
And
deal.
then take it's not even like I'm leaving it up for, oh well, what would work for you. No, that's a deal killer. This is what would work for me, and or that, like, let's figure out what would work for you. But like if that's in your mind, you're better off taking a cash offer.
You're
And that's
better off
just
finding another huckleberry. You're barking up the wrong tree.
oh, exactly, dude, exactly. Not so you guys just got to make sure. I mean, morally, you guys are doing everything right as always, and then obviously paperwork. Make sure you guys got the right people in your corner if you know what you're doing. Like, don't. go out and fuck somebody over and take over the mortgage payments when you don't even got money to be doing it. Make sure that if you're structuring these deals, you have people in your corner or bring partners in on these deals for your first couple ones, just so that you make sure, even if you got the money and you feel like you know what you're doing, just so you make sure you know what you're doing so you can actually get it done the right way. Because at the end of the day, I mean, 100% nothing's still nothing. If you guys partner with other people that know what they're doing, like the deal's actually going to get done versus maybe getting done, or you messing up somebody and messing up their credit, mortgage, whatever that you don't got to mess up.
Yeah, and I've done many deals where I've used the end buyer's money to buy the house, so I got no money in the deal, and we call that an infinite return, baby. Infinite. You got no money in the deal, and it just cash flows.
No, that's how you guys got to start getting into these things. Chris, I want to leave with if you got any good words for everybody, just like motivational stuff, anything that you've seen recently, or just some good words on how they should be going about this business. We always do a soapbox at the end of the show, so if you want to leave everybody with something, let's hear it. I'll leave us all with something, and then we'll get you out of here.
100%. So yeah, what I would say is you got to talk to some sellers. I don't want to take the words from my main man TTP, but you got to talk to people. Nobody know you exist. It's your job to make sure that people out here in the marketplace know that you are the person to bring the real estate problems to, whether that's divorce, whether that's probate, somebody died, whether that's pre foreclosure, whether that's something been on the market a long time. Bring me all your real estate problems. I'm here to help you out. And when you have that position and that demeanor, it opens up a lot of opportunities because some people just, they're like, this stuff is hard. Work harder on yourself than you do on a job. Shout out to Jim Rohn. That's, I guess that'll be my best message there, Joey.
Let's
Work
get it.
harder on yourself than you do on the job. Learn this stuff. Take it serious. I've even been as bold to say, drop out of college and go learn real estate. That's how stupid this stuff is. Just drop out. Whatever you're studying, just drop out. Go learn this real estate stuff. It'll serve you much better because we're all in real estate, whether you know it or not. You can't leave the planet Earth. You ain't going to Mars, not yet, not in our lifetime, I don't think. So you're in real estate. You just got to get on the other side of that equation. So for those that are listening and want more training and want to get into the training, like I mentioned earlier, check out futurecashflowclub.com. We train every week, give you all the paperwork you need, the training you need, all of that stuff. Futurecashflowclub.com. Thanks again, Joey.
Let's get it, dude. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. Last words I'll leave everybody with. This business is going to be tumultuous. If you guys own a wholesaling company, if you guys are in the trenches wholesaling right now or in real estate in general, you're going to have good days and you're going to have crazy days. And when you have the crazy days, just understand if today sucked, tomorrow's going to be better. We had one of those days today that was just like a soaring nosedive down of a plane just going straight into the ground. But
Mm.
it happens and it's all good. We're still here to fight another day. I'm going to go to sleep tonight. I'm gonna sleep like a little baby because I got all of this stress and anxiety and everything out. Tomorrow I'm gonna wake up. It's gonna be a new day and it will be better. So understand, guys, if it is getting hard, if shit, it feels like shit's not going your way, keep pushing, keep going forward. It will get better. You guys got this shit. Chris, thank you so much for coming up here today, my brother. Like much love as always, bro. We got to get some deals done together, and I'm sure we're gonna run this up again soon. So I appreciate you, my brother. Everybody, you guys go have a good rest of your night. Love y'all. Be safe, and we will see you guys soon. Peace out.